Teenagers of Reddit aged 13 to 18, what do you think defines your generation right now? Trying to be famous. Everybody thinks they can make it big on YouTube or some other platform, but most can't. I completely agree, everyone wants to be famous even at the cost of others. I have seen people in the emergency room next to their sick family member making TikToks, and it's disturbing. I'm a frequent flyer for severe allergies. Juuling. Eating hot chip. And lie. Can't cook. Don't forget twerk. Fake influence. People are making TikToks and claim they are influencers. At my interview practice in high school, the teacher asked one girl what her previous job was. The girl said Instagram influencer. The teacher then said, I'll put you down as unemployed. OF burn lol. Burn? The teacher was being nice. Unemployed is a step up. Getting caught up with social media, trying to fit in, and then perhaps forgetting about the real essence of life. Without a direction, you feel stuck, unable to do anything. Yeah, dumping social media will do wonders for you. Or at least limiting it. Every time I find myself in a Facebook comment section, I feel more disconnected from society. It's like everyone on there is just the worst possible form of themselves. Just here to see if my 21-year-old is still relevant. I'm here because I'm 19 in a few days, so I'm taking this last opportunity to be relevant. I want to die. Ha bro, same. Ha bro, same. Ha bro, same. I can tell you this. Our generation is obsessed with relatability. And finding comfort in others who find those same things relatable. I mean, the basis for most memes nowadays is relatability after all. Well, if you're looking for relatability, know that my generation sought the same things at that age. We're all pretty similar. I can relate to that. I can relate to you relating to that. A complete lack of social clicks. I find this is something filmmakers are struggling to nail down. We don't have nerds and jocks anymore. It's all kinda blended together. There isn't specific seating arrangements in the cafeteria. And no lunch money stealing physical bullying. Everything's more digital now, so there really isn't a high school society. Exactly. There's just a bunch of weird kids and a few of them run a meme page to make fun of the principal. Haha. I thought my school was the only one. I find it weird there are school meme pages and pages dedicated to relationships and accounts making fun of teachers and principals. IDK. Probably making she-why memes. I don't think there's been anything significant that we've done as a whole. I can't wait to see what meme the future history books choose to include as a way to illustrate this generation's fascination with the medium. I've never seen more people go through a school day without being sober in my life. The ability to easily get a dab pen or a Juul probably defines our generation. Weird thing is, I know kids who legit smoke weed and drink every day, but you mention a tab of acid and everyone acts like you're doing heroin. I'm 32 and those people still existed when I was in high school. Except they weren't afraid of acid. Self-deprecating memes along with romanticizing mental illness. I'm 18 and know too many 11 to 15-year-olds who claim to have a huge list of mental illnesses. They seem to brag about it. As if it's a competition for who has the most shittiest life. Not that I'm saying they can't have mental illnesses. It's very possible. But I hope they can learn it's normal to be sad or anxious sometimes. And that it doesn't automatically equal something more. I'm 24, but it still bugs me when I see friends post about anxiety or OCD. I'm not saying they don't have it, but it does bother me when they use it as an excuse. I feel like most people who actually have a disability try not to use it as an excuse. I have multiple disabilities, and the last thing I want to talk about is the multiple disabilities I have. Not to sound really old or anything, but I think it's our phones. Nobody in our generation likes to admit it, but we do use our phones a lot, and it must be unsettling for people 40 and older. Gallows humor. There's a general belief that the world sucks right now. And it's only going to get worse as we grow up. So what do? We make jokes about it. Constantly. I mean, what else can we do? We have no discussion power. We can't vote, so why would any political leader listen to us YEs? Some politicians talk about it, but that's all they ever do. Talking but no action. Exactly. I wasn't saying it's a bad thing. Really the opposite. It's just all we have at this point. Being both incredibly pessimistic and progressive at the same time. Most of us feel like life could end at any moment because of a mixture of depression and news outlets' scare tactics. But at the same time, many people in our generation are incredibly open to and advocating for change. Lo-fi hip-hop beats to relax, study to. Asking a SX or PN related question on our AskReddit every 9 seconds. That's been a thing for years. I first joined in 2012 and that stuff was still happening back then. The motivations are different from other generations. I see it everywhere. From tiny subcultures within fanwork communities, to kids trying to start a career with YouTube. This generation isn't making things, media, content, solely for the goal of making it and distributing it for the enjoyment of others. But rather for the potential fame, popularity, and money that may come with it. People stop writing when they stop getting comments on AO3. People stop posting their art when it doesn't get likes. People give up on trying to make videos when they don't get views. People are making content only if they're able to sell it. It's the result of social media being pushed in a direction where you're not trying to share yourself, but you're instead being encouraged to sell yourself. The easiest way to notice this change is probably by watching YouTube videos from 7 years ago and comparing them with the ones that are published now. Videos that are posted now are usually over 10 minutes, more ad revenue, don't have certain music copyright, and are usually meant to be safe for all ages of viewers, so they aren't demonetized. Platforms only encourage content they can sell. And as a result, people only make content the platforms can sell so they can make a living. This generation, in the Ask, is most familiar with the motivation being to sell content. And if their motivations are different, they quickly learn other people will only find their work if it's marketable. TDLR, teens are more likely to create content that's marketable or likely to make them accrue internet fame, rather than for their own enjoyment. A lot to unpack there. But I'd say it's worth noting that we always viewed generations before as ignorant or bigoted. A good example of this being the OK Boomer fad. But ultimately, we're drawing lines in the sand to seem more sophisticated. And when the waves wash them away, a lot of us will become the same intolerable assholes we profile our forebears as. Brilliantly said and a sobering truth. Rampant PN addiction. Also denial of said addiction existing. This is sadly hitting home a bit. A strange mix of humor and mindfulness, as well as memes and self-deprecation. Honestly, Gen Z create a lot on memes. Commonly self-deprecating memes. Just because it seems to our type of humor. I think it has a good way of uniting us all. Everyone enjoys memes. But I also think kids my age are more involved in politics, global issues, controversial topics, etc., and are much more open to discussing these things, as well as educating themselves and forming their own opinions. It truly is admirable. My hope, as one of the youngest millennials, is we can all learn from the baby boomers. They were the hippies that went on become cynical hats when their idyllic worldview didn't pan out. We have more information than they did, and I'd like to think that has led to a little more realism on the hard work it takes to improve things. My blood boils whenever I hear a boomer talk about their youth as if all the hippie thinking was just the drugs and then they had to be realistic, i.e., a self-serving a hat. Hopefully the lefties in my generation and yours do not shy away from the hard work. Memes, influencers, mental illness, LGBT acceptance. Everyone's mentally ill and everyone is an expert at diagnosing it in others. Arg. I'm sorry, I just need to say this. I absolutely despise those girls who seem all happy and lost lots of thing about themselves and then say, "Oh, I'm so depressed" or "so bipolar." Most of the time you're just not. And people who actually have it are being looked down on. Because of the people like you. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be complaining. I have absolutely no mental issues that I know of. But I just feel sorry for those who have and being mocked because of those other girls. I'm really sorry if I offended anyone. It was not meant to. We are always searching for something to relate to. Self-deprecation is very popular. Toxic gatekeeping is running rampant. And we are becoming too self-entitled but at the same time bipolar because of social media. I see girls at my high school crying because they hit 900 likes instead of 1,000 on their last Instagram post. Some girls and guys will bully people at school and then light up their Snapchat story with depressing messages later that night. Worst of all, our sleep schedules are way worse than previous generations due to stress and technology. Caffeine is extremely addictive too. That caffeine thing has been going on for some 100+ years though. It's a strange mix. Some teenagers are super progressive and resilient and mindful while others are destructive and careless. I think as a whole we tolerate people that are different than us more than older generations. Though sometimes it seems as if we haven't gotten far at all. Unfortunately, social media is the definition of my generation. We were the first generation to start using it at a young age, and now technology is just an extension of our life. Teens that don't have social media now are either seen as sheltered or self-righteous. From the stories my dad tells me, teenagers act out a lot more without punishment. Talking back to the teacher doesn't get the paddle anymore, and there's no fear in disappointing adults for the most part. I think my generation realizes that older doesn't necessarily mean wiser. All that the world is now is a product of adults. We are the way we are because adults foster these bad attitudes and hysteria because it's the adults that are setting this example. I look around me and see few good examples. Memes. Social media. Labeling your sexuality. Oh man. This is my first, in my times old man post, but, in my times, XD I'm not even 30 yet. The big thing, in terms of progressiveness, was ridding ourselves of labels and seeing the person underneath. I'm glad that the LGBT community is doing so much better than in my time. But I honestly think excessive labeling is an unhealthy in its own way and has held back a lot of the progress we could have made. My old man hope is that the next generation, I guess you, fixes this sidestep and doesn't become further obsessed with labels. Little respect given but also little respect received. I feel like the older generations are more set in their ways about certain things that could become a future career path for one or the future for everyone. The typical example is esports and how many of the players get joked about by older generations. But it stretches further than that. At the same time, I don't think our generation gives nearly enough respect to those of older generations or to authority. It pisses me off how shitty our generation looks because of all the bad eggs disregarding everyone else and only caring for themselves. Hopefully with time we'll actually take the time to grow up and start being decent humans. I think more and more of this generation is becoming more self-aware. They're aware of what's going on in the world a damn sight more than my older siblings are. The widespread accessibility of unfiltered information is truly a wondrous thing. Extreme vanity. The vast majority of things posted by my age group are just people flexing about things they never earned. Paid for by their parents. Kids get famous quickly by having cool things and showing them off. I think they paid too much attention in kindergarten to show and tell because that's all they're doing now to get famous.